up and go.
Yes.
Instead of sitting there for over 30 minutes and they are lecturing you, talking to you about this, making you see that and all that.
Yeah.
So I think sticks and stones and all that may cause harm to me for now, but the words that people say to me live long and on and on and on.
Yeah.
So I think even words, because people remember, they keep you, like we used to say those days. Remember that time you said such and such a thing about me? I kept you, I've never forgiven you.
Yeah.
So they really are, they have such a powerful impact on our lives, I believe.
Yeah. So there's I want us to first get, and I don't know, Dres, if you're okay. I want us to get a little bit personal here. Have you been in a position where a statement or words have stayed with you and you've had to heal from them? Or if you haven't, have you been the person who you know that I said something to someone and up to now they're probably healing?
Yeah, I think I've been more on the other side because growing up, I'm in the middle of boys, so I'm this macho. I even used to be a tomboy those days, so I used to be a fighter, and so I used to use words a lot.
Yeah.
So I remember there's one time we had an Indian in our class, and we used to, after learning about what was the Indian coolies and all that, and how one of the reasons that affected the building of the railway those days was that they suffered from jiggers. So I remember we teased this girl and we even told her, you're not going to sit next to us because you have jiggers, just look at your hands, just look at your feet. And we even had to be called in by the class teacher, and we're like, how can you be such bullies? How can you say such things?
Yeah.
And we're like, but that's true, they told us Indians suffered from jiggers.
Yeah.
So I think that girl never ever forgave us.
Yeah, it's unforgettable. By the time they called you to the staff room, it must have been bad.
Yes, and then of course growing up in high school and what, I know our culture is such that we tend to be more of bullies when somebody has something that you don't have, or somebody looks a certain way that you'd also like to look like. So we pull them down with our words. We pull them down with our words. So I remember also there was this girl, she was very beautiful, but then she was from Eastern Uganda. She was a Musoga. So we really clobbered her with our words. And I was like, Lord, I hope I never ever meet her again in life. After realizing the power of my words, I was like, Lord, but we haven't met.
But if you do meet, I think
if we do meet, of course, we'll tease her once more, and then we shall say, you know what? We are sorry, forgive us. Behold the new.
Wow. The new. Anyway, we're going to go in for a really short break, and we'll be back to discuss this a little bit more.
Through God's eyes, looking at ourselves and each other the way God looks at us. And the song says, I'm perfectly made. He sees us very filthy, but he says, I love you. I love
when
you.
a perfect God loves you, what else do you need, right?
Perfectly loved. You're listening to the Bridge on Power 104.1 FM, all about love. It's Jazz, Pastor Dora, and Paula. I told you I need to get a name with D.
You do, because this whole week, everybody, yesterday we had Diana. Then was it the other day?
Pastor Derek.
Yeah.
As in, I need a D.
I told you we should just call you
Drushanganwa.
Anyway, her other name is Drushanganwa, so we're just adding a D at the beginning of it.
That makes sense.
Yes. So we were talking about the power of our words, and in the creation story, God uses words, and He spoke things into being. And I know there are so many people who just use their words and don't really understand the power of words. And so in light of the fact that God actually used His words to create things, would you just kindly help us understand, is there a spiritual side to this thing? Just like, can we be like God to say let there be, and then water?
Well, that aspect of creating in that sense is only for God, where He spoke His powerful word and everything came into being. But as individuals, as people created in His image, we too, our words have power. We say things and things be. Like, for example, if you say that I'll never amount to anything, true, you end up not amounting to anything. But if you say, I am a winner, I am more than a conqueror, I am loved, I mean, everything turns out because you said it, you believe it.
Yeah.
So just like our Father has, his words have power, so do our words. They also have power.
That's
They also have power.
And I'm thinking about, because sometimes we start to live in fear when we hear some of these doctrines. When people preach, they tell you, just go and say it's mine, turn around 7 times without work, but believing in that part, it's good that you clarified that ability to actually do it like God is just for God alone. But I think it's also true now when I think about the story you shared about the young lady, who you guys terrorized after the Indian police, the railway did because jiggers, it's you saying she had jiggers didn't make it true. That she had jiggers, but it created something else in her life. Maybe fear, things like that.
Yeah, and based off of that, I guess my question is, how do you now, because most especially for the people that grew up in this generation, by this generation I mean people that have been raised by the older generation, like if your uncle is like 60 and above, but you know what I mean. But let's be honest, our parents maybe sometimes didn't exactly know the best way to communicate, and they did say things that left scars. And in this generation, you'll find that many people are walking around with scars of, but my child, you're a failure, you're stupid, you what, you understand those things. So
porridge in the brain.
Exactly, things like that. So how does a person now that has fully matured into knowing Christ and all of that, but is still carrying around scars and wounds from things that were said, how do we recover?
Well, for starters, if you're born again, you need to know that your identity comes from God.
Yeah.
It's knowing and understanding who you are in Jesus. When you read Ephesians chapter 1, I think, verses 3 to 14, it tells us that we are loved.
Yeah.
It tells us we are forgiven. It tells us that we are chosen of God. It tells us that, we are his handiwork. We've been chosen to do great. Well, our parents could have said that. Our judges could have cast us. They could have said all certain things about us. But at the end of the day, whose word are you going to believe? Whose word is stronger? Is it your grandma's word? Is it your mom's word? Or is it the word of God that you are going to believe about? If people said you are ugly, they said your head is like that of a drum. If they called you a dog, if they said your foot is too large.
Yes. Yeah.
If you believe and dwell on it and you forget that God tells us in his word that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you're going to walk around with a scar and you'll never amount to what God created you to be.
Yeah.
So for starters, if you're a Christian, look at yourself through God's eyes.
Yeah.
I love the theme that you chose for this love week. Through God's eyes. In as much as we see others through God's eyes, it's also important for you as an individual to see yourself through God's eyes.
That's absolutely true. That's very true. And I feel like God is very intentional. He knew that people's words would get to us, so he decided to counter and to understand, no, that's what they say, but this is what I say about you. And I love that. Well, I know we need to be getting into another break soon, and when we get back, I would like us to now look at the flip side. If you're the one who has been hurting, like you said, when you get back, I have a story to share. You mentioned things about heads, and I was like, I was told. But anyway, I want us to now talk about how do you recover from being the perpetrator and knowing that someone is walking around with a broken hand because of you.
And how do we even help our children not turn into, because we know how kids are. Most of these things happen when we're little. We pick up those habits. But to discuss how we can actually help if we're raising children or little cousins, how can we guide them on, being better people to their friends as well? We'll be back.
This is a topic I said I'd enjoy because, again, I've been a perpetrator of using my words carelessly, but I've also been really scarred before. Now we're talking about, we want to understand if you're the one that knows that, the other day I said something and it really, really hurt the person, and it was strong language and all of that. How do you heal, first of all? You know how people who cause pain also,
you
go through that.
You're actually saying those things because you're feeling a certain type of way.
So how do I heal? Or also sometimes some people don't even notice that their words are causing. People are just
I moved on. You're still on that.
You're still on that one. Yeah, moved on. So how do you rid yourself of all of that?
Well, first of all, it's a good thing to recognize that actually your words are hurting other people.
Yeah.
And once you're at a place of recognition, then you're at a point of brokenness. Then you can be able to walk up to the people and tell them, and as much as it will be so hard, if it lies in your power, walk up to them and say, hey, I said ABCD about you. I'm so sorry. I must have said this, and I'm sure it hurt you, so please forgive me. So I think that would be part number one. And then number two, if you could remember what Paul advises the Ephesians, the church at Ephesus in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 22, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is good for building others up according to their need should only be what comes out of your mouth. So if we live by the Spirit and allow Holy Spirit to lead us, to guide us, I think we should be able to overcome that. I usually tell my children, Colossians 4:6, it's a favorite verse of ours. It says, let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know exactly what to say to each person. So even as we hear them starting to call each other names, you're like, what does Colossians 4:6 say? And they'll say, let your speech be, and you're like, no, what does Colossians 4:6 actually say? And they'll tell you, it says, let your speech always be gracious and seasoned with salt. So in as much as you have done that in the past, let us forget about it. Walk up to the people, tell them you are sorry, and purpose to be a different person. Purpose each day to give out, purpose each day to have your speech be gracious and seasoned with salt. Purpose that no unwholesome talk should come out of your mouth. Because when we look at the word unwholesome, it could be translated, that word unwholesome can have different meanings. You could say no corrupt talk will come out of your mouth, no dirty jokes will come out of your mouth, no bad words, no cursing, no things in that nature will not come out of your mouth. Even when you're really fighting to say it, David gives us a very powerful prayer in Psalm 19. And it says, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing and acceptable before you. So even as we go about our day, when you are tempted to call someone a name or to say a thing that would hurt them forever, just pray that simple prayer. Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing and acceptable before you.
Wow. I like that it's going beyond the words that I say, it's the words that I think.
It reminds me of that scripture of out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So we might not achieve much if we're saying, let's make me holy. And you walk right in your own strength. Maybe you need to work on where the words are coming from before that. Something about silence though.
Yes. No, wait, before silence, you had a story you wanted to share. Because we're talking about this, and she's talking about even what she tells her children before they start calling themselves names. When we were kids, at your birthday party, they would say, you look like a monkey,
a gorilla.
On the day that you're supposed to be affirmed, you wanted,
celebrated,
everything, they sing that. So I think you have a story. What's your story?
My story was actually when I was little, in that sensitive age. I was a teenager.
12, preteen teenager.
14 around there. And I was in my, I think S2, S3, around there, that age, that's disturbing. So I was not paying a lot of attention in class. And I remember my geography teacher was drawing something about ridges and depressions on the blackboard. And he hated when he finishes with a blackboard and then looks at the class to explain. He hated when he saw people also writing. So he wants you to pay full attention to him while he's talking. But no, your girl over here was drawing and wanting not to, miss a follow the guy. So the man looks at me and he says, I don't even want to imitate him because that will come from love, right? But, so let me know. But he told me, so young girl, what are you doing? And I said, I am drawing. My friend was wondering,
don't you see it?
I'm drawing this on the board. What do you expect me to be doing? So he's like, stand up. I get up and he's like, your head has ridges and depressions. He told me, actually, no. Say, my head has ridges. Because I had to stand up in class. I know, I had to stand up and say, my head has reasons. I think he told me louder. So I was like, what? But I'm telling you, up to today, I can't forget.
Wow.
I was like,
Wow.
why would you do that? Like,
To a 14-year-old
a 14-year-old.
in front of the boys.
Right? Like, there were all those things, right? But anyway, something about silence, though, does using our words right sometimes mean that we keep quiet completely? So if Jazz hurts me, am I allowed to call her out on it, or am I, like, what is
like
that
your situation right there?
Mm-hmm.
A student versus a teacher
Yeah.
who's using his words and his power to oppress the student, and the student usually can't say anything much because we've been taught, do you want to, you don't talk back to adults or anything like that, so you choose silence. But you've actually been wronged.
Yes.
And then here comes this saying, you've been told silence is golden. And you're like, I'll be golden in this moment, but in your heart there's nothing golden about the way you're feeling, you know. So what would you say to someone in that situation? The words have been used to oppress them. Can they speak up? How can they speak up? What's the wisdom around something like that for maybe the younger people who've been put in situations like that?
Well, like you said, it actually depends on the relationship you have with this person. And then it also depends on what's at stake. Because the Bible says, for everything under the sun, there's a set season for it. There's a time to talk and there's a time to be silent. Well, I believe your teacher, what he said was actually mean and bad and downbringing, if you could use that word. But I actually think in the heat of a moment, you don't react. You keep quiet, let it cool, let it pass by. And then you go and confront and say, but hey, excuse me, mister, you made me say A, B, C, and D, but did you think about what it would cost to me? Did you... then you express your feelings to them and let them know, actually, next time, please don't do it again. So I'm sure that generation of our parents where they were like demigods, you don't respond to them, you don't. It's beyond us. It's beyond us. It's beyond us. I'm sure now we are in a new era where we are allowing for our children to be open with us, to come and talk to us. So respectfully as well. So to the young people out there, your mom, your dad may say in a heat of a moment, call you a dog. I can use that because mom used to call us dogs all the time. And we always would wonder why. And she would say, because when I call you once, you don't respond, so it's only dogs that they call many times. So she would say, Mbwamwe, you dog, all the time. So now we are older, we laugh about it.
Healing has allowed you to laugh about it.
Healing has allowed us to laugh about it, and we're okay with it. But for the young person out there, know your place and discern the time. Because in the heat of the moment is not the perfect time for you to confront. To come on a head zone with your dad, with your mom, or even your teacher, your supervisor. It will come off the wrong way. They will think actually you're being disrespectful. They'll think actually you just don't get the point, and it will make a bad situation worse. So I think there's a place for you to be silent. There's a place for you to speak out and say, hey, mom, today morning you actually called me a dog. I'm not a dog. It really hurts me. Is it okay if you don't call me a dog again? And then if you're mature enough as a parent or as a teacher supervisor, you know that this is my child, I'm the mother, I'm the authority, I'll always be. You apologize and you say, hey, I'm sorry, love, I didn't intend to do this. Forgive me, I promise I'll not do it again. But if I'm caught again doing it, forgive me again. Forgive me again. Same thing with our spouses, because sometimes you may think it's only the kids who drive you nuts.
But because I'm the one with the mouth.
Right. And for people who quite easily talk a lot, it comes, you finish saying it and you're like, wow.
What did I just say?
And then pride kicks in somewhere. Even as conviction is coming, you're like, but it's true.
It is true.
But for him, can't he see?
Exactly. You always forget to do these things, I tell you. you're telling your spouse just because on your shopping list they forgot maybe your
deodorant.
Exactly. No, they brought the wrong type. Maybe you specified you wanted Dove stick, and then they brought for you Dove roll-on, and you're like, you never ever get the details. You never
even pay attention. All these years.
I know. Exactly. So
wow.
you need to set a guard over the doors of your lips.
Yeah.
Like
Even
David says.
Yeah. I think a friend of mine, I used to say the statement liar a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time someone would tell me a lie, no, you're such a liar. Till I realized
You're calling people liars.
Okay. Yeah. It's not, did they tell a lie? Yes. Does that make them a liar? No. Yeah.
Reminds me of another statement we had a lot growing up, you know, when you do something wrong as a child. I remember a friend of mine pointed it out. Actually, it was we were on a tour, and it was the bus driver who pointed it out to me that we say this a lot to our children. Now, we were saying it because it was said to us a lot, and maybe you can also throw some light on it about, you know, that part, because you say, shame on you. Shame on you. And then she's like, a big statement. Why are you heaping shame on the children? Why you keep, you know, saying that? Then I realized, now I'm a mother. I pay attention to the things that my child's caregiver says to her a lot, because I don't want them to call her things that she's not yet. She's still she's not yet. But already, you know, never. Shame, how can you do something like that? She's a child. She doesn't know how to go to potty yet. Then
but you're already shaming her
for
for something that you've not taught her to do, actually.
Maybe speak to people who are not aware of the words that have been said to them, and they still we've carried them forward.
Just carry them forward because your mom said shame on you, and your teachers all said shame on you.
Shame
so you're so thick. The whole class.
The whole
on the bed, and everybody laughs. So I think if people could realize the power of our words, I think would use them in a much more better way. Because the Bible in Proverbs somewhere says that a word rightly spoken is like apples of gold in setting of silver. So in as much as they have made you angry, if you like pulling their hair out or your hair out for that matter, there's always something positive to say about it. There's always something positive to say about it.
Wow, today has been very insightful,
Yes,
because I think there are things that, for example, I'd never really thought of shame on you like that. I'm sure I've told my nieces and nephews, shame upon you, and all of that. But I remember being sung for that song, and I would cry, and I would not understand why I'm crying. Like, it's just a song.
Because they're just embarrassing you, putting you in a place of, you know,
you are nothing, man. What you have done is the dumbest thing ever. And yet, man, if they had spoken to you about it, because we used to sing that for kids would susu on themselves in class. Or who wouldn't write a certain number that the teachers just taught and would all go, shame.
Wow. I like this conversation, because it's just, I think anyone listening in can realize that the things I say, I need to be more aware of the things that I say to children. Even parents, sometimes, you know, a child is you know,
that child is like that.
Yeah, like this. And even you don't realize that your child is a certain way because of maybe the things you say or the way they are treated, and you don't take time to actually have conversations and say, how are you feeling about this? You know, we cast aside their feelings because our feelings were cast aside and words were said to us. So we have to be really, really careful about the things that we say.
Somebody here is saying something. They're saying, thank you so much for today. Let's see. Yes, I haven't listened in for a while, and then today I did, and voila.
It's as if
God speaking to me about the things I say to my kids. But you know, I think even the things we say to each other, just because you haven't been part of someone's growing up, doesn't mean you can't speak life into their being. And many times we say things that really, really scars us. In the, you know, those people who say jokes. Like, it's just a joke, you know. But your joke is hurtful.
They'll come with a saying, there's a saying that goes, many an honest thing has been said in jest. You know, many people have said things that they really mean, but they're joking, you know. But it lands. You realize something, you know, when someone is joking, when they're trying to sidestep you.
They're being sarcastic.
Yes.
They make fun of you, they laugh about it, but deep inside you're like, Did you just say that my foot is as big as an elephant?
I know. I know. And we never really know a person's insecurities, the source of insecurities. Which brings me, I love this conversation. The other question.
Yeah. As we wrap up.
As we wrap up. Insecurities. Is it for me to work on my insecurities or for the other person to work on how they're talking to me?
Well, it's a two-way, I would say. It's a two-way, I would say. I also need to deal with myself.
Yeah.
I also need to deal, the other person also needs to deal with the way they talk to other people as well. Because, I mean, this world, we live in a fallen world, you know that. Our sin is in us. I mean, it's part of us. And we find more pleasure in hurting other people, incidentally.
That's true.
So, in as much as we may be sheltered, I will tell my children, you know what, you are here in this home, we are sheltering you, we're keeping you away from the rough storms of life and from bad people and all that. But one day, you're going to grow up, you're going to go out into the world. So if the first person tells you, look at you, you're very tall like an electric pole, what's going to happen to you? You're going to come back crying, Mommy! No, it's not going to happen. You need to face and say, whatever they say, I don't care.
Yeah.
I believe what God says.
Yeah.
So as people, we need to deal with ourselves first. First of all, see yourself as God sees you. And how God sees us is in the Bible. He sees us as beautiful, as handsome. He sees us as brilliant. He sees us as capable of conquering the world. I mean, if he calls us more than conquerors, then why should someone come and say, for you, math will always be a problem for you. Yeah? So deal with yourself as a person, but also you out there who is saying such things to other people. Deal with yourself. Deal with yourself. If somebody hurt you as an adult, as a child growing up, ask God to help you get over it and move on. Because the more you hurt others, I'm also sure when you go to bed at night, you'll also think and remember, and you'll also be hurt yourself as well.
Wow. It's 3 minutes to midday, and Anita will be in with the news, but it's been a beautiful conversation. Just like a quick story about, the two-way thing.